Dolan, no matter what he wants, he doesn't care what the law says, he's going to have it his way. Glendora's show off of TV in Yonkers again, and she had to stand out in freezing weather. And remember that morning it was minus 11 degrees in Dutchess? And asked subscribers exiting from the customer service, in reality sucker service, to sign. There was a stream of people in and out giving their money to Dolan, and he signs an affidavit that he doesn't do business in Westchester. Well, now, notice he eschewed under penalty of perjury. He didn't say that in the affidavit. Boy, if he had, I would have gone after him on that. So is Dolan's bad faith. In December, Dolan took a chat with Glendora off of TV in Peekskill and Ossining. The residents sent their signed papers and proof of residency, but Cablevision lost them. That would be Cecilia. The access coordinator took the show off of TV before she went into the hospital for 2.5 weeks, when the papers were on their way to her, and left nobody else in her chair. Of course, Cablevision doesn't have any personnel. He fired them all, mostly. All the time the shows should have been on the air, on TV, and they are now. And how is that for violation of First Amendment free speech? Peter Zenger, Mount Vernon. Remember the Peter Zenger trial was held in Mount Vernon? Free speech, free press. Now by February 9th, Glendora has to get renewals into Dolan for another 6-month period, April 1st to September 30th, and this is all bad faith. This is for Hauppauge, Brookhaven, Nassau, Yonkers, Pelham, New Rochelle, Yorktown, Wingdale, Wappingers, Peekskill, Ossining, and this is a Herculean burden. I'm showing Dolan's bad faith. This is another reason that I must be rewarded this $3,000, which the appellate term already awarded me. If Dolan wants to verify a signer's address, look it up in his computer. They are subscribers. He knows where they live because he runs a cable into their house. When Dolan wants something, he does not care whether it's against the law or not. He just goes ahead and does it. Now this applies to the shareholders law, the New York State Business Corporation law, and the law of corporations for Delaware, and this applies to the Cable Policy Communications Act of 1984. And it applies to the New York State protections of you subscribers. He refused 107 times to let Glendora shareholders see the books, records, minutes, and shareholders list and make copies, pursuant to the New York State Business Corporation law and Delaware law of corporations. Glendora knows there is Enron there, and he knows there's Enron there. Glendora knows there is Enron there, and when de Blasio ruled another case that Caligari lost, he had to show Glendora the books, records, and minutes. He showed her some papers. Then he suddenly stopped. Glendora complained to de Blasio. Suddenly de Blasio did a volte-face. Guess what happened, folks? I'm going to wait a second. Guess what happened? De Blasio began an avalanche of attacks on Glendora. Incredible until you see the record. She opposed him on every one and picketed up and down the sidewalk of the county courthouse, Westchester, White Plains. And her sign said, "Dump de Blasio." On the front it said, "Dump de Blasio." On the back it said, "Dump de Blasio." And he sent the Westchester County Police after her. And the Westchester County policeman says, "You can't picket here." And Glendora says, "You have no jurisdiction. I'm on the sidewalk of the city of White Plains." He retreated to the county office building. Along with a second emissary summoned by de Blasio. Now, as you know, de Blasio has been dumped. He stepped down from the bench and is now a lawyer for the Gagliardi firm in White Plains. Boy, do you see how good always wins in the end? Do you see that? Look, but it takes so long. And it takes so much fight and it takes so much effort. Gone with him is his demented law clerk, Barry Schwersky. Glendora sued both of them in the United States District Court, Delaware, where Schwersky was ruled an agent of Cablevision, unquote, unquote. Glendora had a lot of fun with that. Dolan is stepping down as chairman at the June annual meeting, '04. Glendora avers it is because Time Warner is coming. Dolan is getting into his next berth, out of cable TV and into direct broadcast satellite. Glendora looks forward to the day, and she is on several Time Warner systems, Albany, Binghamton, Middletown, name a few, and they do not waste time on getting signers, nor on 6-month renewals. They're a little too smart for that. And yet you, Cablevision, that's pretty dumb that you do that. Nor on censoring the public's right to be on TV. We are on page 39, out of 120, I think. To quote this court, this is an affluence of chaff to get a seat. But I believe I am showing cause why I should be awarded $3,000 for the time, labor, life, spirit, postage, travel, printing. This adamantine, intransigent billionaire has cost Franklin and me. He takes all the good channels away from us. We used to be on Channel 3. You remember that? Then we were on Channel 8. Do you remember that? Then he put us on Channel 78. Who wants to go that far up on the board? As a shareholder, I want to make note of Dolan's ineptitude in hiring and paying for Callaghan's ineptitude and in sending to court an addadamic. More bad faith by Dolan Cablevision. Accessory before the fact and after the fact. Robert M. Callaghan was causing Glendora 3 hours labor Thursday, January the 29th, and $10 print post to articulate the preliminary statement plus 2:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. equals 12 hours to go to court January the 30th, Friday, for a 20-minute hearing. It really wasn't a hearing, a 20-minute conference, just to set a trial date, February the 19th, Thursday. Is that reasonable? I don't know what page 40 was. Next, we're talking about the District of Columbia, our nation's capital, and she has to serve it by February 6th. Oh, yes. The United States Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit, the acting judge of the Judicial Council there said it's okay for the judges, 14 judges in the District of Columbia, to lie and cheat. Pointed out that they had lied and cheated. There was the record. They did it by their own hand, and pointing out the judges, that's okay. There's nothing there actionable there. And also, Glendora is under pressure writing this paper because she should be getting in those 15 illegal renewals for Dolan by February the 9th and 10th, that's today, and 6 hours work and $10 print and post. This is how pervading is the perversity of Charles F. Dolan, bad faith, predatory, imperialistic, Napoleonic. We are Peter Zengers. We are fighting for free speech. That is our Mount Vernon, Westchester heritage. Further, we are Thomas Paine's, which is our New Rochelle heritage. Thomas Paine lived in New Rochelle. Peter Zenger trial was in Mount Vernon. This stand in Rye, Westchester Court, is just that. We must be awarded $3,000 for our time, labor, thought, spirit, vitality, that the bad faith of the Dolan mob has caught us. They have violated our public access right given us by the Congress of the United States, the Cable Policy Act of 1984, codified as 47 U.S. Code, Section 521 et sequitur, by the New York State Legislature, Title 9, New York Code Rules and Regulations, Section 595.4, and the New York State Public Service Law, Section 229, and by the municipal franchises. Are we Americans? Do we believe in free speech? Do we brag all over the world about free speech? What does this record show you? Something's rotten. This harassment by Dolan further violates public access law, first come, first serve. The filling out of applications every 6 months is an agonizing infringement of the law, first come, first serve. Glendora was first come in 1993. She has to be first served. A second come cannot have her time slot without her consent. This is true for all public access producers. The law says first come, first served, period. It does not say first come, first served every 6 months. That Dolan causes aggravated public access producers to stand out in the cold at midnight, February 9th all night, until the doors open at 9 a.m. to protect their time slots. He has done this every 6 months for a year and a half, and every time 3 months for 3 years before that. And when the crunch came in September 2003, and he fired so many people, he had to cut it down from every 13 weeks to every 26 weeks. Glendora takes much of the credit for that. I had to stop and say a prayer. Every 15 minutes I tried to pray. And thank you, God, for this brilliantly bright, warm and friendly February day. Maybe a $3,000 judgment, Peter Lane, will make Dolan realize that he cannot abuse public access producers by not returning their property, or by returning their property after it has become too moldy to serve the public. Maybe that he has to stop all of the abuse heaped upon us aggrieved. Is Peter Lane afraid of Cablevision? Does Cablevision have power over Peter Lane? Most noble Peter Lane, you think this is chaff, but it is the soil, the water, the sunshine, the air that this seed blossoms into a plant the census can intercept. If Dolan does step out of Cablevision the first week of June, when he always holds the annual meeting, Glendora will take full credit for making him flee, although some credit has to be given to George Steinbrenner, who had his victories also over Dolan. Return to paragraph 38 herein. We told Charles F. Dolan at the 2002 annual meeting about people standing out in the cold in February or the rain in August all night. He says, I didn't know that. Charles Dolan lives in Oyster Bay, and people were standing out in the cold and the rain all night in Woodbury. How far is it from Woodbury to Oyster Bay? But did he do anything to cease and desist? The privilege of answering is yours, readers. If Charles Dolan ever went to work once in a while at One Media Crossways, he would have seen this. Other than the hedonism of enjoying tyranny, Charles F. Dolan has another motive to harass public access producers, and that is money. It is New York State Public Service law that if public access producers do not fill up the public access TV channel, Dolan can take it and use it for commercials. Federal, state, municipal legislation. Then the cable operator can use the channel for commercials. Isn't that an admixture? Now that, if the public access channel, free speech, is not used, then the cable operator can take it and use it for commercials. Is that not an admixture, only that a capitalist and democratic America could come up with? Money and free speech? Isn't that a riot? A further financial prod is that the full expense of public access has to be borne by the cable TV operator. See Goldberg versus Cablevision, the Second Circuit, 2002. This is pro quid pro for giving a cable operator. Now insert Glendora signer for and democratic America could come up with? Money and free speech? Isn't that a riot? A further financial prod is that the full expense of public access has to be borne by the cable TV operator. See Goldberg versus Cablevision, the Second Circuit, 2002. This is pro quid pro for giving a cable operator. Now insert Glendora signer for Cablevision, Bergen County, has got her renewal into Glendora, and Glendora has to get it to Dolan now to meet his illicit February 9th deadline. So this show, cause, has to be truncated. In other words, I had to stop and take care of those stupid renewals. They're nothing but a harassment. They serve no public interests. There's nothing legal about them or anywhere. They serve no legal purpose. Another cat just opened the door again. So, Charlotte is being a very good cat. Can you see her down there, lying and sleeping next to my lap since she can't be on it? Chase is out on the sun porch, and now he wants to come in. In Riverhead, the astute town fathers told the public access producers, don't sign anything that Cablevision gives you. Don't get anybody to sign anything. It is all illegal. So Glendora has been on Riverhead Cablevision 8 years and has never signed anything. And I say that if Dolan papers are illegal in Riverhead, they're illegal everywhere else. Hear me. We are on page 45 of Glendora's post-conference memorandum and pre-trial statement to get $3,000 out of Charles F. Dolan and Cablevision Systems Corporation for not returning my videotapes and for wasting the postage I sent the billionaire to return the videotapes. Glendora is due $3,000 in damages from billionaire Charles F. Dolan for bad faith in not returning her videotapes. Bad faith, as she is asseverating, as twisted and snarled and ambage like as an elementary career, canal, as an elementary canal, an elementary career. I know plenty of people who are off on that. I brought the clock, so I'll remember to pray. Did I pray at 11:15? Say a prayer with me, folks, right? God, what is it all about? It's all about us being perfect and us leading others to be perfect. We must live lives of love and peace and thankfulness and praise giving. Amen. Maybe Dolan's having to pay $3,000 will stop his abuse of the courts. Maybe he will catch on, Peter Lane, that it's cheaper and less stressful to obey the law of the land that has been so abundantly gracious to him. Never. Not unless there's a tremendous conversion of Charles F. Dolan, because that's his modus operandi. Ignore the lane, the law, do anything you want. Don't care what the law says, just go out and do it. That applies to Dolan's treatment of you subscribers and of shareholders and of public access producers. And of Yankee fans, remember? Right now, because of Dolan's bad faith, Glendora has to forego shoveling the soft snow of snowfall number 10 this season while it freezes to immovable and encases the 1980 Lincoln and the 1993 Lincoln and the pass to the doors. You don't know the long list that is here waiting of things that have to be done because of this Dolan. I mean the things that have been postponed. Right now she has to let other legal papers and personal correspondence and household menials is spelled M-E-A-N-I-A-L-S, taking care of the house, cleaning it, and taking care of the cats, and shoveling, and taking care of the cars. And I do mean, pile up together with telephoning. Glendora makes 50 telephone calls a day, and has for decades, and she's a communicator. Dolan is not. So there they are, 50 calls a day piling up. All these pile-ups cause stress and uneasiness and are damages worth $3,000 from the Rye City Court. Regardless, her God and helping people be perfect and happy come first. Every 15 minutes she hears a call and says a prayer or sings a hymn. It's 9:45 a.m. Thank you, God, for this strong February sun and making the world so beautiful for us, and sing, take my life and let it be consecrated, Lord, to thee. Take my hours and my days, let them flow in ceaseless praise. Dolan is not going to get her behind in praying. That's right, the praying is up to date. Dolan has also damaged Glendora's urinary tract. She doesn't like to go to the bathroom anywhere but in her own home. And when she leaves home, she postpones going to the bathroom and postpones drinking 8 glasses of water a day. She did not urinate from 5:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. January the 30th, Friday, and the urine was an unhealthy rust color. And she did not eat her vegetarian, salubrious, diet-free, or diet fare, but she ate a la mode. The fashion of the day, and she couldn't find a place in Rye to treat her 3-quart monitors. Maybe I'll take the monitors down on Route 1 in Portchester. Right? There's a good diner there, isn't there? Looks good. Notice that Dolan ceased cablecasting a chat with Glendora on Veterans Day. He never honors Veterans Day. Employees get a day off at his choice. Franklin was a veteran of the most intense call, D-Day to Victory in Europe Day, Normandy to Weimar. When annual meeting 2000 fell on D-Day, June the 6th, James Dolan, son, CEO, honored Franklin. And Franklin was applauded. He sat in the row closest you could get to the Dolans on stage. Only the esoteric directors and officers were allowed, contiguous to the inner sanctum. And that was funny. And they applauded him, and I was so happy for Franklin. And Franklin's so shy and so modest and so unassuming. And then I told him that getting through D-Day was a snap compared to being married to me for 46 years. It's 10 a.m. now. I number your thoughts that come in. Such affluence, in number more than the sand. That's true. The thoughts from God come in, and they are in number more than the sand. I think that's Psalm 139. James Dolan was conducting the meeting. Although son, he is only the CEO. This was a rank infraction of the bylaws. The chairman has to conduct the annual meeting of shareholders conducting the business of the company. Not then, but later, Glendora made such a vociferous point of this. Charles Dolan never did this again. The billionaire had to do his duty, be there and preside. One time he was in Alaska, another time he was in Japan. Why did he go to Japan? He wanted to buy it. But that is, again, shows you how he will break any law to do what he wants. It's in the bylaws that the chairman has to conduct these shareholders' meetings. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. And he thought he was getting away with it. I have been a Dolan monitor now for 10 years, 3 months, I believe. Yeah, 10 years and 3 months, 0 weeks. From Veterans Day, 1993, to tomorrow, which will be February the 11th, 2004, that's 10 years, 3 months. James made a mess of the annual meeting that year, and Glendora taped it and played it on her TV show. And at the next meeting, Cablevision, in-house lawyer for hire named Charles A. Former, made Glendora sign a statement under penalty of perjury that she would not tape and had not asked anybody else to tape the record. They are so ashamed of it. It is a shameful display. She was the only attending shareholder who was forced to do this, and she would not sign, and 25 security people precluded her attendance. So you see, court, Charles Dolan's bad faith invades Securities Act also. And this is a second count. The first is not showing the books, records, minutes, and shareholders list. 107 times. Enron. At annual meeting 2002, Glendora signed the odious statement with nimble alacrity. She had them either way. This is Glendora versus Charles Dolan and Cablevision. But court jester, Former, had 9 other obstructions to keep her out of the annual meeting. They're desperate. Fellow shareholder and Dolan watchdog Peter Wunsch, certified public accountant, fancy-footed Former so brilliantly that every phony ploy that Former finally was flattened and admitted Glendora through the rows of security guards and the imaginary pearly gates into the annual meeting. And do you want to know that because of just that, just this one shareholder, Charles Dolan, started the annual meeting 15 minutes late? Yes, he held up 300 attendees, 15 minutes, in his failure to keep Glendora out of the convocation. We are on page 50. Former and Callaghy are co-schemers and bad faithers. Former is as culpable as an accessory before and after the fact. United States Magistrate Mark D. Fox, U.S. District Court, Southern District of New York, White Plains, ejected Former from his courtroom for making faces. I quote, for making faces. Hear the record in the court's audio tape. Dolan's bad faith and Napoleonism rear their ugly heads in his army of toy soldiers. He had about 50 or more toy soldiers surrounding him. Glendora Franklin would go every week to see the books, records, minutes, and shareholders list, and the toy soldiers would call the Nassau County Police. I'm here conducting the company's business. And they call the Nassau County Police. This is how stupid and militaristic Cablevision is. The Bonaparte complex is further emblazoned by Dolan's palace at 1111 Stewart Avenue, Bethpage. Have you seen it? The Christmas decorations at the Greek-type entrance of columns are two toy soldiers 30 feet tall. Now, isn't that a riot? Inside, he has an army of 50 toy soldiers with vice presidents of security swarming the 3 floors and the multiple wings. The rambling expanse should have wings. It is the former Grumman airplane factory. Dolan gets it tax-free, by the way. Now, is it any wonder that Nassau County teetered on bankruptcy for a year? Franklin attended the public hearing that rigged Dolan's tax-free ruse. Dolan said he would move Cablevision out of Nassau County if he didn't get it tax-free. It's expensive, but not expensive. He's getting it free. Did you know that? Now we're up to page 52, and this is Glendora versus Charles F. Dolan and Cablevision Systems Corporation. This case is in the Rye City Court, County of Westchester, State of New York, United States of America. And I am showing the court another reason why I should get the $3,000. The first reason is the hours that I spent on this case. And the second reason right now I'm showing is that Dolan, Callagee, and Cablevision acted in bad faith. There's a third reason coming up. Can you guess what it is? Oh, it's 11:30. Say a prayer. Thank you, God, for this beautiful universe. How extensive it is, way beyond our grasp. Thank you, God, for creating the galaxies and the stars. Thank you, God, for creating our star, the sun, which is putting on such a great show today. And thank you, God, that our sun has its own planets, and that one of those planets is Earth. And upon that planet, there is water, there is air, there is soil, and there is life. And this life is another prayer. How interesting and various it is. Amen. So we are on page 52, and Dolan uses the Nassau County Police to intimidate shareholders to leave the airplane factory stripped of their right to see the books, records, minutes, and shareholders list. At annual meeting 2002, Dolan said that public access producers were not using public access for what it was intended. Glendora cited immediately Dolan orally committed editorial control. Then, 2 more times within 5 minutes, he did it again. He doesn't care what the law says. No cable operator shall exercise editorial control. That's federal, state, and municipal law. Dolan has violated 531E and 595.4 over 30 times in his life as a cable TV operator that I know of. At the CBS annual meetings, the chairman had at his fingertips how much had been spent on litigation the previous year. He had it right there at his fingertips because he knew the question was going to be asked by shareholders. But when Glendora asked Dolan, how much did this company spend on litigation this year, Dolan glowered, a whole lot more than it had to because of you. And he never did answer the question. If Dolan would live by the statutes, no money would have to be spent on litigation. This court has the exciting opportunity to bring that home to Dolan. Dolan spelled D-O-U-G-H-L-A-N. Dolan fails his fiduciary responsibility to shareholders. Glendora sat with her ballot in her lap as Dolan scissored the meeting, watched him carefully as he called for the vote count, and then adjourned the meeting. And Glendora stood up and said, "You never counted my ballot." That happened. Can you believe it? Now this is how rigged a Dolan annual meeting is. They are scripted, by the way. Puppets stand up and make motions. Other puppets stand up and second them. All by script. Don't you see, court, how bad Dolan's faith is? At the 2000 annual meeting, Glendora was picking up one of everything from the piles of handouts. When she got to her seat, she had an envelope, and she opened it, and it was a $1,000 check made out to a director for attending the annual meeting. How's that dig you? A director gets $1,000 just for going to the annual meeting, and they never say a thing. They just sit there. $1,000. Yes, she gave it back and mentioned it in her speech. And there was a roar of laughter. By the way, that $1,000 was for annual meeting that lasted less than 2/3 of an hour. And if Dolan can find $3,000 to pay for 3 directors attending a 40-minute meeting, he can find $3,000 for Glendora attending 3 court sessions he caused by not returning her tapes. Dolan's annual salary is $3.5 million, plus other compensation that he doesn't tell you what it's for, which he will not let us see the books, plus stock options. So they get about $10 million a year. James, of recent years, is more, Forbes says that it's about $10 million a year. So I was saying, does this court think that Charles Dolan has $3,000 to pay Glendora? And we wore out the battery. And I think you're getting worn out, and I'm getting worn out. And this is a tremendous evocation of endurance to read this all to you. And I'm telling you what I'm going to do, folks. I got 55 up to 61 for bad faith. I'll read up to 64, and that finishes bad faith, bad Dolan, bad Cablevision, bad cable, bad Calgary. And then I just got to go to the post office and serve this on them. And where were we? Page 54. Is it any wonder why shareholders do not get dividends? Where does the money go? Nassau County is one of the 3 largest cable TV systems, multiple system operators, they call them MSOs, in the country. It is 450,000 subscribers. The rest of Long Island makes about 200,000 more, and Glendora's is on all 5 systems. And this is funny. I just got to stop and show you this. I hope I didn't get a picture of it. But here's the second hand on the big clock. And it's going around And Charlotte wants to reach through and catch that second hand. And I'm too late, but it was so funny. She was pawing it, and now she's sitting in my seat. Now what do we do? That was so funny to see her try to catch that second hand. So the point I'm making out here is that Charles Doan has one of the three biggest cable television systems in the whole United States. The others are, of course, Manhattan and San Diego. Now tell me how a man can get 650,000 checks every month and be in debt. Where's the money going? Now, add to this all the checks, $20 to $100, that come in every month from Bronx, Brooklyn, Westchester, Jersey, and Connecticut. And he is still broke and owned by the banks. And he still thinks it's easier to waste Glendora's postage and not return her tapes. This is bad faith, court. This is damages Glendora should be paid. $3,000. What do you think the real amount is? As David said in Psalm 113, my soul knoweth right well. My soul knoweth right well. You are dealing with a man. It took Steinbrenner and Bloomberg to bring Yankee fans their games on TV. Can you imagine being that oblivious to Yankee fans? Glendora had to stop to drink her 9 o'clock water, 1 glass every hour for 8 hours. She had to stop for Chatham fuel to put 119.2 gallons of kerosene into the tank outdoors, and that cost $213. Is there something wrong with what our government, is our government really taking care of us? Fuel predators resemble cable TV predators. Sometime one has to take time to eat. So far, 7:48 to 12:50 all she has had is a peanut butter sandwich on rye and a bowl of kashi. This is another fuel stop. Maybe the 247-mile, 7-hour trip could not be swapped for notice of trial February 19th by mail. It has something to do with due process. First Amendment, Fourth Amendment, and 14th Amendment. And Peter Lane is always ingratiating until it's time to write the order. And Rye City Court is always interesting. But it should have been done by mail. And he showed he wasn't afraid of Dolan Cablevision. Just a second. Did we say a prayer at 11:45? You ought to hear the little kids say prayers every 15 minutes. Their prayers are terrific. We have a satellite Sunday school over here. This is our little clubhouse. And we pray every 15 minutes. We sing hymns. And their prayers are beautiful. They say, thank you, God, for the trees who give us oxygen. They're talking about photosynthesis, and they're only 7, 8, and 9 years old. Well, they're 7, 9, and 9. And thank you, God, for our homes. And they pray for the homeless people. And their prayers are just wonderful. What's your prayer right now? I say, thank you, God, for spring is coming. Isn't that great? I know it's wonderful to cop out and go to Florida, but this winter up here in the north makes a person out of you. And it really makes you feel the fun of spring. There goes a fire truck. Glendora is still in pain she did not get her $3,000 January 30th because the reverse of deny in 2002 is grant in 2003. Peter Lane took 60% off the parking tickets at civic court. He got back only 60% of Franklin's security deposit to landlord Godfrey South in Mount Vernon and his mean son Mark. Will he let Dolan get by with 50%? This is such a challenging paper to write. It is amoebic. But like a chat with Glendora, the TV technology production is not what is important. The information is what is important. So it is with this paper. Amorphous as it is, the information is going into the record. NBC, CBS, and ABC can always beat a public access producer at production with dazzling TV production, but never can they get out the information that public access providers do. Never. Oh, thank heavens. Page 58 is blank. It's reserved. Page 59, trial by jury. You can have jury trial in small claims. Glendora saw them talking about it in Uniform City Court Act, Section 1803. Is a trial by jury to be held and violate? And she cites common law without prejudice, Uniform Commercial Code, Book 1, Section 207, Glendora. Writes David, my soul knoweth right well. Well, my soul knoweth right well. That should be done. And that is my 1:30 p.m. prayer. We weary God with our words, as some other prophet wrote. But look, says Glendora, but look. We weary our voice. First up, Dolan did not cable cast my show. Now isn't that worth $3,000, Peter Lane? He didn't send back, second, he did not send back my tapes. Isn't that worth $3,000? Third, then he wasted the postage and boxes that I sent to return the tapes. Isn't that worth $100? Fourth, has he not? A pattern of damaging public access producers and shareholders and subscribers. That was a long, cold trip, January the 30th, just to be told you had to come back again. And this is Dolan's fault. Also, Dolan makes us risk snow. And he will again, February the 19th. The doctor told Harry, you mustn't shovel snow. You'll have a heart attack. So Harry went home and he said, son, will you please shovel the snow? And his son says, yes, Dad, I'll start immediately. That gave Harry a heart attack. Because February 3rd, 4th, and 5th were eaten up by Dolan Cablevision Caliggy, Glendora had to take February the 6th after making up the backlog. By the way, February 6th is that's January 6th, that's Epiphany. After making up the backlog Dolan caused in the finance record keeping, the devotions and the morning chores, to write the big U.S. Court of Appeals District of Columbia paper, 32 pages, 26 sets. She does not own, she does her own copying on a Canon PC 426. Again, she had to get up at 2 a.m. and this morning, February 7th, to collate it, label, names on it, whose copy it was, staple, stuff, seal, and post. It is due February 16th. And once done, she had to segue into 3 hours of Dolan paperwork with his illegal, senseless, harassing renewals. She did about 20 of them. They have to be in February 9th or February 10th today, and they were posted. Now, Deborah Eacock is Glendora's signer for the Peekskill system. Deborah was all set, and then Cecilia of Cablevision called her up, got Deborah upset, and now Deborah won't sign. Now this is what you call extortion. Cecilia, keep your big mouth closed. Why did you call Deborah? She was all set to sign the renewal. And now Glendora will have to travel 100 miles to Peekskill and get another signer. This is what you call extortion, Charles Dolan. And you're going to be sued for that. You, maybe not Eacock, but certainly Cecilia, and certainly Christine Savarino, and certainly Christine Savarino's supervisor, whoever it is, whether it's Thomas Garger or whether it's Miles Rich, you're going to be sued. Okay, I was all set with Peekskill, and now I got to do it all over again. You have no legal basis for what you're doing. It isn't a law anywhere. It's against the law everywhere. And so you're just going to be sued again. Shall we sue him again, this time in Rye City Court? Or in Peekskill City Court? Or in Mount Vernon City Court? Where will we sue them? This is paragraph 111. It's a magic number. 111, 222, 333. They're all magic numbers. And say something nice. Well, I'll say this, that winter is half over. Dolan's harassment never ends. The reporting of it never ends. This is not the first day of my life spent fighting Dolan's law, breaking, all day long fighting it. Not the first one. Franklin took good care of his wife for 49 years, and he left her $2,100 a month. There is no time to proofread this paper. Errors are not nescience, but oppression. And paragraph 116 is reserved. And paragraph 117 is reserved. And Glendora believes that Franklin's strength would have lasted longer had he not endured 6 hours of 95 degrees and 98 humidity on August the 16th, 2002, when we went to the Rye Court. His pulse dropping to 20 would probably not have happened had he stayed home under the shade of his favorite pine tree. But he wanted to stay with me and be a witness and be a help. It was a bad day to go out. And it freaked, when Franklin's pulse was down to 20, it freaked greedy Esculapians into a $600 ambulance ride, a $10 hospital stay, 2 pacemakers, a punctured lung when they put in the second one, and a $59,000 hospital doctor ripoff. And that was 23 doctors. This is how bad things have got in the United States of America. This is how bad it has come. Doctors robbing the Medicare cookie jar. It was a bad day to leave home and it is the fault of Dolan Cablevision Callagy. (123) Benediction. I'm leaving you now, folks. I have to go to the post office and serve this stack of envelopes, 120 pages each. God be with you till we meet again. Keep love's banner floating o'er you. Put his loving arms around you. God be with you till we meet again. Court of Appeals. Folks, I just remembered that the Ghent post office closes between 12 to 1. But if I went to the Chatham post office, it would be open, but then I just have to go out again to get the in-mail. So, the Chatham post office closes between something like 9:30 and 10:30 in the morning. Isn't that funny? So I'll go to the, I'll wait until 1 o'clock when the Ghent post office is open. Also, I have to water the plants. They are doing brilliantly, the plants. I'll have to take the TV camera someday and show you Franklin 3. He must be 10 feet tall. He's going straight for the ceiling. And Franklin's mother plant, she's doing beautifully. Where the big stalk was broken off that was growing straight up, she's compensating for that, and she's just beautiful. We're up to page 65. Now listen to this. Maybe the court should get the $3,000. The bad faith of Dolan Cablevision Callagy have caused the court excessive time, turmoil, labor, and grief. Glendora is serious that Dolan Callagy Cablevision be sanctioned $3,000, which would go to the court for all the trouble that they have caused this court. What do you think of that? Page 66. 10 days have passed, and Dolan Cablevision Callagy have made no objections to filing Glendora's preliminary statement into the record. So, it is there. Notice. 67. Now a further reason. See, given 2 reasons already. The time and labor that Dolan has cost, and I've given the hours that this thing has taken. It's something like, well, I'll have to read it to you. We'll get down to that. At $300, you know, it's way above $3,000. That's the first reason. The second reason is that Dolan, Cablevision, and Callagy acted in bad faith. Now the third reason is here. A further reason Glendora should justly receive the $3,000 from Dolan Cablevision is what she would do with it. She wants to give money to the homeless. The Reverend Perry Jones spoke at our church and told how the Albany mission he heads sleeps 400 homeless people a night and feeds 170. Can you imagine that? People living out in the street with no homes. Glendora wants to give money to the mission. Also, she wants to give money to the Chatham Methodist Church. They barely, and I mean barely, make it. She has a neighbor whose husband had a kidney transplant this summer, and he was out of work for months. And they're inundated with medical bills, and she would like them to have some money. And she'd like to be an almoner I'd like to be an almoner. I wish I knew a billionaire and I could be an almoner for the billionaire and then go out and give money to these people. Glendora Franklin had 6 of their cats spayed. This is the neighbor. And they paid for and the neighbors paid for the 7th one. And there are 4 more to go. It's time for them to be spayed, but they're so little. There are others who need help. The rest she would use to replace the damage that Dolan, Cablevision, Callagy have inflicted, and some of it would be put into the Franklin Memorial Fund at church. Poor Franklin paid for Dolan, Cablevision, Callagy havoc for years, and Glendora paid for it until she was in former pauperous, and the court fees and the court stenographer pirating, fighting Dolan's theft of public access and shareholder rights voraciously ate up the savings, and some of it would replace the money that Franklin spent on Dolan's ravage, which money could go into the Franklin Glendora Museum, the public access pro se newspaper reporter museum. Franklin preserved 11,000 newspaper articles that he authored. Page 69. Taking so long. It's a monster. But I'm telling you, it's an accomplishment, folks. And you and I are not going to give in. Okay, we're going to do what's right. We got as far as King Agrippa. We got as far as an appeal that backfired. Page 69 out of 120. The Apostle of Paul appeared before King Agrippa. Paul told how he was a Pharisee and how he hated Christians and got them in prison and murdered. He told Agrippa how he was converted. Who brought the charges against Paul? It was the Jews. Why were the Jews mad at Paul? Because Paul was making Christians out of the Jews. Because Paul was fervently making Christians out of them, Agrippa was almost converted. Would that I were a Christian, he told Paul. And Paul kept addressing King Agrippa as the most noble King Agrippa. When Paul finished his defense, Agrippa said to Festus, now Festus is the prototype of the U.S. Attorney, the New York State Attorney General, the County District Attorney, Festus. Agrippa said to Festus, this man has done nothing to be imprisoned or to be put to death. He could be let go, but he has appealed to Caesar. So Agrippa had to send Paul in bonds to Rome. And if Paul had not appealed, you see, he would have been set free. Minister to the confirmation class. What is an epistle? Student, an epistle is the wife of an apostle. Now, here are the hours and dollars added up that this case, Glendora versus Cablevision, Glendora versus Charles F. Dolan and Cablevision Systems Corporation. These are the hours that it has cost Glendora. Here's 37 on the first page. The application to file a claim, the motion for to waive in personam filum, the conference. That's when Franklin's energy was shortened so badly. The Callagy motion to dismiss and Glendora's cross motion to deny and impose sanctions on Callagy, and the Callagy's affidavit, which was of service of his in further support of his motion to dismiss, and the Glendora memorandum in opposition, that was Maurice Cunningham after she was fired, and the whole thing was an affidavit of lies and it wasn't under penalty of perjury. And the Lane order to return the tapes, and when that was done and Glendora had picked them up, the case would be dismissed. Well, Callagy brings the tapes to court, or somebody does, and Glendora's friend sends a messenger over there and picks them up, and then one day brings them up to Glendora's house in Stanfordville, New York. And then comes Glendora's notice of appeal and Glendora's appellant's brief. And the appellate term reverses the Rye City Court, reverses and remands. And then Glendora's application to the court for a notice of intent, and the Rye Court writes to Glendora and says there will be a conference on January 23rd, which was changed to January 30th. And Glendora writes Dolan to settle for $2,500, never hears a thing. Glendora's memorandum of law and affirmation in support that Dolan appear in personam. And Dolan signs an affidavit. He does not do business in Westchester. This is a lie. And Garrity writes Glenn to, oh, that's out of place. Glendora reviews and studies for the file in preparation for the January 30 conference, and that took 7 hours. And Glendora writes the Rye Court, why are you autistic? And Glendora's application to the court for more than a conference, she wants to consummate this. And then the notice of motion and motion for that the court filed Glendora's preliminary statement as a matter of record, and then comes the conference on January the 30th, and that took 10 hours and $123. And Glendora's post-conference memorandum, this thing, 120 pages. It says here 32 hours, but it's more like 42 hours, and it costs like $68. Print and post it. And the trial is set for February 14th. Why don't you, excuse me, the trial is set for February 19th, Thursday. Why don't you come? It's a Rye City Court, right off of Route I-95, right off of Route 287, right off of the Hutchinson River Parkway. It's a big confluence of big roads. What's that add up to? Just this paper alone? I mean this case alone, just this case alone? 145 hours and $522 in print, travel, postage. Now $145, that's three, make it 150, okay, times $300 an hour. What is that? That's 75, what? $75,000, is it? 7,500, which is it? And the telephoning estimated is 20 hours and $200. Office heat, electric, and the rent. That's down there. I don't know what to do with that, Peter Lane, but there it is. And the monitor, the time that monitor 1 spent to come to court, and the travel, monitor 2 and monitor 3 come to court on January 30th. Okay? So I think that's about 10 times $3,000. Here's a receipt of the 40 videotapes Glendora has to buy every 2 weeks for a program to be on TV. And here's the fuel, $213. And outside of this case, Glendora has been fighting Dolan Cablevision Callagy law-breaking since November the 11th, Veterans Day, 1993, 10 years and 3 months. Because again, tomorrow is February 11th, that's 3 months. 10 years, 3 months. And it has taken a total of 9,647 hours to print, post, and travel. Court fees, stenographer's minutes have cost $26,699.53. The file is 33,118 pages. There are 83 volumes, 10 file drawers, and she has done 1,137 mailings. And she has a record of 2,493 Dolan lies, including Cecilia to Eacock last week in Peekskill, under penalty of perjury. And Glendora signed that. Here's the latest Dolan entry. Now we reproduce for Peter Lane the logs. Every Dolan paper is the date, the time, and what was done in that quarter hour. It's always by quarter hours. That's how you get through these wretched things, you know, folks. You get one of these terrible cheats in the mail, what do? The first thing you do is date it when it comes in. And then the next day you start working on it, if you're lucky. If you don't have something to put you all behind, like this. And the first thing you do is make a log, like this. And you write down the date and the time, and you go over to the copy machine and you make a back-to-back copy for the file. And then you make another copy for you to chew all the pieces. And then you work on it 1/4 of an hour a day. That's it. Because you just can't face a paper like this, sit down and write this. You just can't do it. But you can get a 1/4 of an hour done, right? You can see yourself through that. And they get done. That's the only way I've got through these all these years. I sent Dolan and Cablevision and Callagy a copy of the flashy Rye City Court calendar that's on the desk for people to take, because they weren't there to get one themselves. And this is a log for this paper. Started on February the 2nd, and it went until today. But today is the end of it. I'll be rid of this thing within the hour. It will be served, and that's it. We are fast coming to the end. Thank heaven. Oh, of course, Sunday afternoon when I'm printing this thing, 120 pages, 10 sets each. Naturally, I'm going to run out of toner for the copy machine. And my man, Tom DeLuca, who is good at this, he sent out the copy cartridges from the Bronx on Thursday or Friday. They're not here. So in the middle of copying this, I have to wait Sunday afternoon until Monday morning and things open up. And then I have to drive down to Hudson and buy another copy cartridge. And I have to pay $96 for it. And for Tom DeLuca, I only pay $75, so there's another $26. Or $21. And $13 travel. And I'm finally done the printing. And finally, late yesterday afternoon, I started the collating. 140 pages, 10 sets collated. But I did use Franklin's method instead of mine. His is better for this. And it got done in a couple of hours last night. And I even was able to staple some of the papers, and I was able to put their names on them. And this morning I finished that and did the envelopes, and stuffed them and sealed them. And here's the conclusion. Wherefore, therefore, and ergo, Glendora must be awarded $3,000 cash for damage inflicted upon her by Dolan Cablevision Callagy, plus $15 filing fee, together with any further relief, just and proper. Dated February the 8th, 2004, Anno Domini, Chatham, New York. Yours in truth and amor patriae, Glendora. A chat with Glendora on 42 TV stations, including Washington, D.C. Without prejudice. Uniform Commercial Code. Book 1, Section 207, Glendora, Opus 1088. 32 hours, it says here. It's 40. And $68. Sometimes I question that too. I even question that, if not more than that. really question that. I think it's just $68 just to post it. It says here that the printing is, no, I guess it's right. The printing is $37 and the postage is $30. Okay, it's $68, but it's probably more than that. And it goes to the Rice City Court. Right now, I'm leaving. We missed our prayer at 12:45, so you say the prayer, huh? I'll say a prayer. It'll be in the form of a hymn. Oh, before I go, I wanted you to say I bought these big rubber bands. These great big rubber bands. And I had a hard time finding them, too. And a rubber band says, for the big tough jobs. And let me tell you, everybody, this was one big tough job. God be with you till we meet again. Keep love's banner floating o'er you. Put his loving arms around you. God be with you till we meet again. And Annette, in February, it's like spring. How's that for a prayer? Wasn't the war supposed to bring down the gas prices? Is there something wrong with our government? Are they protecting us? Well. 15.8 gallons. And $28. 16 gallons of gas for $28. So it's almost $2 a gallon. We've got a nice government, but it's been taken over by hoods. What a day. Too bad this isn't feel-o-vision. Can't feel how nice and warm it is. I feel how good that feels. This burden off of our shoulders. That's a beautiful creek down there. You remember the Stanfordville post office last year? Mudville, New York. 12581. Remember that? Unreasonable. Oh, boy. 15, 20 pounds, it cost 27 cents. Didn't
They had a package notice too, everybody missed it. Well, some girl came in like at 10 minutes after 12, and I was headed out the door. Today? Yeah, she grabbed me out in the parking lot.
Huh.
So somebody called her about a piece of mail she had to sign for.
Dale, did my copy cartridges come?
Did you what?
Copy cartridges, great big box?
No. No,
Okay, thanks. Post office income tax time. Franklin and I don't have to pay income tax. The IRS said we didn't have to pay income tax. They said that 3-4 years ago. There he is. Look at him. Every day he grows 2 or 3 inches. That's Franklin 3. And this is the mother plant. See how happy they are? And notice the philodendron. How she loves it here. Isn't she pretty? Thank you, Dale. Dale let us put the plants here. And Jackie Robinson is their godmother. This is beautiful, this lovely thing. And this is nice too, the rubber plant. This is my favorite. I think this is an amazing tree. Amazing the way that tree grows. Well, so I went to bed on time, 8:30, 9 o'clock. Now I lay there, 8:30, 9:30, no sleep. 9:30 to 10:30, no sleep. Here I've wasted 2 hours. So, 11 o'clock or so, I decided to get up and do some of these things, all of which will be read to you. But now, maybe some sleep will come now. Maybe not. Over here, I'm working on my complaint to the Securities Exchange Commission about Charles F. Dolan and Cablevision not showing me the books, records, and minutes and the shareholders list 107 times. Look at that, folks. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful? And it's always nice to have a kitty cat throw your pens on the floor. And see how nicely it fits into the flat rate envelope. And I'm going to be reading you this. I don't have to read you, of course, the exhibits because I've read those to you before. I just have to read you the complaint of each defendant. For instance, Gamma defendants. Defendants King, William Gregory, and Wilkins are sued for all violations listed on pages 17 and 18, excepting DD. Daniels and refused to give her name, Jane Doe, are accessories before and after the fact. Are you looking forward to suing Cablevision again?
at the end of the day. Thank you. There you go. You're welcome. Go farther, I'll leave them just about the same.
Okay.
Oh no, I'll leave them for you. I'm gonna just pop out the meters. We took a dog in our house last night. A Rottweiler?
A lost friend?
Yeah, well, actually, it was somebody on the road there, but we couldn't figure it out last night, so we just found out who the owner was today.
Oh, you did?
Yep.
Oh, that's marvelous.
Yeah, so we kept them in our house overnight.
Oh, I couldn't imagine.
See, aren't we nice?
There's hardly anything you can do greater than that.
We took him in, and he stayed upstairs, stayed in my daughter's room. He was so cute, though.
He's cute.
Kids like that.
They
They
are?
scare me at first, the Rottweiler. Oh my god. He scared me at first, but he just was so lovable. It was so cute.
Oh.
And we're like, he almost got hit by so many cars. And we're just like, just bring him in. But he was the neighbors down the bottom of the hill from us, and we thought it was like the other way, down the other road.
What?
Right on 66. Up where it's 55 miles an hour, which people are actually going 60, 65. He almost hit it this time. Yeah, isn't that nice? Poor little guy. Yeah, he's a cutie. So we have a new friend.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But you know where he belongs.
Oh, yeah, my husband just got him there today. Just now. That's what was just on the phone. He told me he got him there.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. So I thought that was
Go
nice.
through your husband.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Dave.
Dave.
Yeah. Oh, he got home last night and the dog was in the living room. And he's like, the heck? It's a big dog. So like, our
Oh,
dogs.
this is great. You did it. Were you all alone when you picked him
Me and my daughter. Yeah. My daughter and my son actually picked them up. Brought them in the backyard. So my kids actually did it. Isn't that neat? You want those
Right.
too?
I gotta take that paper, so
Okay, 1060.
and then I need 2 sets of 1060.
Two sets of 1060.
Well, no.
Wait,
No, I need 2 sets of what each one of those cost. What did each one of them cost?
106.
Okay. I need 20 sets of 106.
Okay, yep, I got that. 20, see, 20, there's that. Yeah, do you want it on this, how do you want this, do you want it on this order, or do you
No,
want it
I'd
in a
like to
different
pay
order?
for this right now.
Okay, that's separate, 1060 for that.
And, and then I have a receipt for that.
Or did you want to give me the dime?
Yeah.
Or,
Because it is recorded, though. You said 1060, didn't you?
yeah. I just giving me 1160. 120.
No, 11, yeah, they were giving you 1160.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good doing that. So it was nice. There you go.
Or a receipt.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, and then this one separate?
Yeah. And that's 20, right?
Yep. $21.20 for that.
Okay.
There you go. There you go. This is it, Glendora?
Nope. Thank you. I believe those are all the same, and there's, some.
Maybe you just need stamps?
Yeah, I do.
Yep, how much you need? Hey, James.
Just one vote.
Hi, Mariel.
7:40.
Well, this is it, folks. Between Veterans Day and Thanksgiving is when this lawsuit was started being written. And it's in the United States District Court, the Eastern District of Wisconsin, in the 7th Circuit. It's Glendora plaintiff versus defendants. And I'll read you the defendants as we go along. I think that's, but I will show you the great expanse of the caption. That's page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5. This isn't bad. Sometimes they go up to 12 pages. 6. And one that was left out and had to be added in. Okay, so the best thing to do is to read you the names of the people sued as they are written in the complaint. And I have a problem here. There's a beautiful calico cat sitting right where I have to sit to tell you this. I can't remember. I lost the list of jokes to tell you this week. Oh, you're so beautiful. Oh, you're just so beautiful. Let's see. The woman said to the cab driver, "Can you back up a couple of miles?" And the cab driver says, "Why?" The woman says, "I don't have enough money to pay for this." And how do you make the judge laugh on Monday? You tell him a joke on Friday. And you have heard of the donut defense in football. It's the defense with a hole in the middle. And you've heard that old quarterbacks never die. They just pass away. And the college football coach said to the math professor, "You've got to pass my star player. We're not going to win without him." And the math professor says, "Look, he said that 7 times 5 is 33. And the coach says, "So he missed it by 1. What other jokes were there on there? I can't think of it. Too bad. Alright, this is a verified complaint under penalty of perjury. Glendora asseverates she is telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help her God. Defendants have not. And for this they are being sued pursuant to Criminal Code 18 U.S. Code Section 1001. This is a Rule 8 Federal Rules of Civil Procedure notice complaint. Glendora proffers the papers that exhibit the violation of each defendant. Defendants showed no acumen covering up their tracks. This court has subject matter jurisdiction because of federal question and or diversity of citizenship. And how? These people I sued, these judges, are all over the United States. This court has venue because this is a civil rights action. A civil rights action can be brought in any federal court in the United States of America. Most defendants are state actors. All are liable to Glendora under Title 42 U.S. Code Section 1983 as civil rights, and all are liable under Title 42 U.S. Code Section 1985 conspiracy. By Rule 12, Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, the court must accept Glendora's allegations as true. Remember, Glendora has a constitutional right to be pro se. If you have a problem with that, actuate 28 U.S. Code Section 144 and 355. Maine. I had to let the key cat out. This action is a legal proceeding by which Glendora enforces and demands her rights in a court of justice. Pro se civil rights actions cannot be dismissed until the plaintiff has an opportunity to rather, unless it appears beyond doubt that the plaintiff unless it appears beyond doubt that the plaintiff cannot prove beyond a doubt that her claims are true. And this is quoted in Glendora versus Cablevision, a victory over Charles F. Dolan and Cablevision Systems Corporation in 1995. So don't you dismiss this case until I have a chance to prove beyond a doubt that my claims are true. Promiscuously, defendants violated Criminal Code 18 U.S. Code Section 1001. Glendora invokes Criminal Code U.S. Code Section 1941 at SEC, Civil RICO, Racketeer Influence Crime Organizations, to provide this court with subject matter jurisdiction in conjunction with the complaints here in that cite criminal statutes such as mail fraud, such as tampering with a record, inter alia. I better stop right here and read you this important criminal code, Title 18 U.S. Code, Section 1001. It says, wherever in any matter within the jurisdiction of the department or agency or the United States knowingly and willfully falsifies, conceals, or covers up any fact. I guess I gotta have either more light, I've gotta have a better, but that's the idea. If you knowingly, willfully, and purposefully, on purpose, cheat, lie, it's fine or jail for you. No magistrate is to touch Glendora's action in any way without her consent in writing. This is the law, Title 28 U.S. Code, Section 636. No clerks. Glendora has a constitutional right to an Article III judge. She insists that a United States judge read her complaint, decide her complaint, and sign every paper. This complaint is to be adjudicated, decided, determined, and pronounced judicially, and only judicially. Glendora will suffer no more of the synthetic, artificial, and addled hoop jumping by kid law clerks with acuminate heads. Glendora is adamant hereon. The controlling phrase in all venue laws, Title 28 U.S. Code Section 1401, is, quote, in the interest of justice, unquote. Congress said what it meant and meant what it said, and paragraph 18 is reserved. And continuing with the preliminary statement, if you don't give me justice, if you rob me of due process, if you do any of this sua sponte stuff, I want my money back. This $150 comes out of my Social Security, and you have a job to do, protect America and enforce the statutes and the U.S. Constitution and the U.S. Code. You get $140,000 a year plus to achieve the same. This is Glendora to the court in, was it Wisconsin or Wyoming? In Wisconsin, on Omnibus 20, Glendora versus John M. Walker et al. And this is the end of the preliminary statement. Just about this case has to be litigated by the plaintiff and the defendants. You are not there to act as their defense attorney. They have to answer. If they don't, I get Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, Default Judgment Rule 55. You are not to answer for them. By common law, your job is simply to ensure that the rights of both parties are protected. When you cease to do this, you lose jurisdiction. Title 28 U.S. Code sections 144 and 354. Even with the multiple layers of self-interest and the scars taken by your soul to get this job, you can intercept that this is right for America. Adelphia bankruptcy are pendent state claims, but this court has to adjudicate the same because Glendora does not have to be in two courts. One is enough. The federal court can take care of this. New York State court filing is up to $300 now, and the plaintiff is without the same. However, this court has jurisdiction over these defendants because their offenses are committed in federal bankruptcy court. Now we go to the first defendant, a group of defendants. That's John Walker, the Chief Judge of the United States Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit in Manhattan. He is sued for denying Glendora meaningful access to the courts, violations of 18 U.S. Code Section 1001, which I just read to you a few sentences. Lying, cheating, deliberate and willful misrepresentation, failure to deal with the issues, failure to deal with the facts, failure to read Glendora's pleadings, obstruction of justice, Title 18 U.S. Code Section 1503, apostasy, Title 28 U.S. Code Section 352, the right to be pro se, a constitutional right long before lawyers, abuse of the court system, traitorship to the USA, untrammeled prejudice, Title 28 U.S. Code Section 144 and Section 354, abuse of the office, closing the courts, First Amendment, denial of the due process, violation of Fifth Amendment, Sixth Amendment, and 14th Amendments, summary orders, unsigned orders, unpublished opinions, denying plaintiff of her day in court, ghost-written orders, a fraud, orders that are frivolous, meaningless, malicious, and vexatious, mail fraud, anti-pro se and pro-lawyer, pro se prejudice and lawyer collusion, boomeranging papers like a kangaroo court instead of answering the same, fugitivism, judicial depravity, dis-Americanism, not protecting Glendora's rights, not protecting America, and not protecting the Constitution. These are my charges against John M. Walker and his gang in the United States Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit, Manhattan. Glendora's open-faced memorandum to Walker on December the 17th, year 2003, delineated Walker's violations. The same follows. It's 5 sheets. The defendants, McKechnie, that's the clerk of the court, and Whitby, a deputy clerk, are Walker's accessories before the fact and after the fact. And then comes all of the papers that you have been read, that have been read to you. We're up to page 21. This is Carol Almond, a totally inept judge in the Eastern District of New York, Brooklyn. Defendant Almond violates all of Glendora's rights listed on pages 17 and 18 that I just read you, excepting R, S, and T. Add to this GG, not knowing the law, Title 47 U.S. Code 521 et sequitur, the Cable Communications Policy Act of 1984. Abuse of Title 28 U.S. Code Section 1915, that's when a person cannot afford the court fees but should not be denied a day in court. And HH, not applying the law. And I, violations of federal rules of civil procedure, Rule 1, just, speedy. And when you go to court, Rule 1 says that the action has to be just, speedy, and inexpensive. And Rule 38, the jury trial, inviolate. You have a jury trial no matter what. And Rules 26 to 37, discovery, getting the facts out of the defendants. And Rule 55, default judgment. closing Glendora's action before she had time to respond, caused by using an old address, closing the case before issuing a judgment to Glendora. See, they're so anxious to get the record out, get it out of there. They'd burn it if they thought they wouldn't get caught. Defendants Heinemann, he's the chief clerk of the Eastern District of New York, and Vega, he's a pro se clerk, pro se writ clerk, writ no wit, are Almond's accessories before and after the fact. Glendora's 5 sheets served on defendants mid-November and the first week of December 2003 catches these defendants holding the offenses. Gamma. Gamma. Defendants King, Williams, Gregory, and Wilkins, they are in the United States District Court in Atlanta and the United States Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit in Atlanta. All violations listed on pages 17 and 18, the one I just read you, except DD. Daniels and refused to give her name Jane Doe are accessories before and after the fact. Daniels is sued for impersonating a judge. Clerks do not issue orders with offensive hauteur. Misguided Jane Doe on November the 16th at 2 p.m. refused to tell Glendora who her panel was on the appeal for the year 03, number 1764. That's Glendora versus a whole bunch of cheating lawyers, and it was mangled by a cheating lawyer named Marvin Garbus. Her second misfire was, this is Almonds in the Eastern District of New York. You didn't have a panel, you didn't have an oral argument. No, excuse me, this is the U.S. Court of Appeals in Maryland. You didn't have a panel, so you didn't have an oral argument. In plain Anglo-Saxon terms, Glendora made it pellucidly clear that she had a right to 3 appellate judges deciding her appeal. Adam and Jane Doe shuffled Glendora to Deputy Daniels. As often it was a recorder, nobody was on the job. Glendora redialed and asked to speak to Clerk of the Court, Patricia S. Connor. Anonymous Jane Doe failed to identify herself again. Now this is a felony. She put another clerk on the phone, and Glendora made it clear that she wanted to speak to Connor, the chief clerk of the court. This clerk whined about her hurt feelings, and Glendora adamantly sidestepped the non-issue and persisted with her request. Connor came to the phone and said the panel was King, Williams, and Gregory. Fourth Circuit will not let a pro se file a formal brief. This is absurd. As dysfunctional as the First, Second, and Third Circuits are, the first is Boston, the second is New York, the third is Philadelphia. They would not dare stoop to this nadir. The Fourth Circuit's wholesale denial of due process rights of all pro se litigants is an issue here, as evidenced by the papers inferred by McDermott and Pollock. So we included Elizabeth's 13 very scholarly paper. What the Fourth Circuit was doing was unconstitutional. Now, Epsilon, Eta, and Beta defendants. The first paper attached here to now, November 17th, 03, memorandum tells you why MCI Roberts are being sued, how the United States District Court, Jackson, Mississippi, failed to do anything about it, and how the United States Court of Appeal, New Orleans, failed to do anything about both of them. Further violations of Glendora's legal rights and of their duties to her were the malfeasance and nonfeasance of the United States District Court, Jackson, Mississippi, to file Glendora's notice of appeal. That's a new one. The court failed to file a notice of appeal. Of Barbara's grotesque order that failed the United States of America on November 18th, 03. Folsa, a deputy clerk, and Fulbridge, the clerk, are sued for impersonating circuit judges as delineated in Glendora memorandum served on All Saints' Eve. Higginbotham and accomplices are sued for rendering meaningless Title 28 U.S. Code Section 352. 352 is right. That's your privilege to complain about a judge, misconduct, and disability without going through the lengthy process of a Senate hearing, a United States Senate hearing. So Higginbotham and accomplices are sued for rendering meaningless Title 28 U.S. Code Section 352, judicial misconduct and disability as delineated in Glendora's complaint to Congress attached here too. Fulbridge, the clerk of the court in the Fifth Circuit, New Orleans, refuses to come to the telephone when summoned by a citizen. Michael Brown is his accessory before and after the fact. King through Saltzman are sued for knowing that the United States District Court, Jackson, plummeted on failure to process Glendora's notice of appeal, and they wouldn't do anything about it. Zeta defendant. Defendants Thomas S. Lee and J.T. Noblin are sued for not filing Glendora's notice of appeal and for not transmitting the same to the Fifth Circuit in New Orleans. They violated Federal Rules of Civil Procedure 77, 78, 79, and 18 U.S. Code Section 1503, tampering with the record. Glendora invokes Title 18 U.S. Code Section 1001, the one that if you lie, steal, and cheat, you're going to go to jail or pay a fine. And she also invokes Civil Recall, Title 18 U.S. Code 1941. Theta defendants. Evan, Thomas, Cofield, King, Edmondson, Kahn are all being sued under 18 U.S. Code Section 1001, the lie, steal, and cheat, and 1941 RICO to give this court subject matter jurisdiction over the criminal conduct. They are in the United States Court of Appeals in Atlanta, the 11th Circuit, and they're in the United States District Court in Atlanta. Edmondson is being sued for rendering meaningless judicial misconduct and disability protections, Title 28 U.S. Code, Section 352, which he calls 372. Which is it, 372 and 351? Evans through King, heir, sued for illiteracy and for impersonating judges. A judge and a clerk should know how to read. Their follies are delineated in the following three papers served on them in November 2003. Said papers are affixed here too. Okay, we're halfway through. go over and find some old jokes. If we can't find this week's jokes, let's go tell some old jokes. Judge is a mature thinker. All of his ideas are over 60 years old. And the calculator that had a built-in memory, and the man picked it up, and the calculator said, "Hey, wait a minute, what about yesterday when you were trying to balance your checking account and you slammed me down on the table?" And Bob and Joan sent their children to the most reliable summer camp that there is. It's called Camp Grandma. And when the daddy picked up his son at summer camp, he said, "Did any of the kids get homesick, get lonesome?" And his son says, "Yeah, some of them, the ones who have dogs." And Marilyn and John tried something new last summer. They sent a dog to summer camp, and they sent the kids to obedience school. And with all of the gadgets that they have on cars today, why can't they invent a windshield wiper that won't hold a parking ticket? And Eleanor has a way to go to work and save on the gasoline. She gets on I-95 and she simply turns off the motor, and the rest of the cars push her to work. The policeman stopped the man and he says, "You don't have a tail light." And the man got out and looked in the back, and he began to shiver and shake and cry, and the policeman says, "It's not that serious, you just don't have a tail light." The man says, "Yeah, but where's my wife and trailer?" This is Glendora, Chat with Glendora, and I am reading to you Omnibus 20, a lawsuit that sues something like 55 judges for lying and cheating and violating the rights of you, the citizens, and not protecting the United States of America. We'll be right back. We're reading you Omnibus 20 lawsuit that was filed today, served today, and to give you a glance at it, it sues 55 judges and other people in government who are robbing you of America. IOTA defendant is Nickerson, and he's in the United States District Court in Baltimore, Maryland, and he made believe that when Glendora sued Garbus and Legg and Bennett, he made believe that she was suing them in the Maryland court, which is a big lie and a big cheat, another criminal code, section 1001. And Glendora was suing these three people in another United States District Court. Nickerson has dismissed a case that was not even filed in his court. Now, how is that for illiteracy? The attached paper served on Nickerson tells a story. Hereby, Nickerson violated 18 U.S. Code Section 1001. If you lie, steal, and cheat, you get fined, go to jail. It was obviously a lie. Again, RICO is involved to give the court criminal jurisdiction, subject matter jurisdiction over a criminal act. Kappa defendant is Bowden through Stahl. Let's see, Bowden and Turuella, and Sear and Stahl and Bowden, or Bodine, in the United States Court of Appeals for the First Circuit, Boston. They violated the Constitution of the United States of 1779 as amended in 1781. The same violated the U.S. Code, Title 28, U.S. Code 636. No magistrates unless they have the consent of the plaintiff in writing, or the defendant. So did Tu, Ru, Ella, Sear, Stahl, Bodine, rendered useless, Title 28 U.S. Code, Section 351, judicial misconduct and disability. All four en banc violated A to FF,